Welcome back to yet another episode of the Inverted Microphone, second one in a week, because we are locked in 2026. We have a jam-packed show for you guys yet again, talking some Premier League action, introducing yet another new segment, the winners and losers of the week. Talking Crystal Palace, who have had a very interesting week. We'll have to talk quite a lot about them, and then get into a Manchester derby preview. Saturday, Man City, Man United. Should be a good game. Michael Carrick's first match as manager, and then another 11 lineup for you guys at the end, talking our favorite kits, but also making sure they somewhat align with the position that we assign them to. But Joa'o, I'm Rees Goodall, as you well know. Joa'o Lara Jr., how are you doing on this lovely, lovely Friday morning?
Oh, look, I can't complain. The weekend is about to ramp up with some fixtures, and honestly, I'm just excited to be here, like always.
I love Joa'o because he always does have that excitement to be here. Makes me excited to be here as well for this episode. But we will go ahead and get started with our winners and losers of the week segment. First time doing this. We've got 3 winners, 3 losers each. Joa'o, we'll get things started with you. You can go a winner or a loser. You're a positive guy, so I predict you'll go for a winner first.
I'm actually starting off with the loser.
Wow.
My first loser of the week. I know we usually talk about the Premier League. I know we usually talk about but this time I'm taking it to La Liga, and I'm talking about a team who has recently been in the eye for many reasons, and it has to be Real Madrid. Real Madrid just came off of a 3-2 loss against second division Albacete. They ended up conceding that final goal in the 94th minute to go down. I just think that this is absolutely painful to watch if you're Real Madrid. You've seen these results almost unfold. They've been bailed out under Xabi Alonso, but obviously they've had to take a different approach under new head coach manager. Sorry, I'm blanking out. Arbeloa. And it's just going to become more and more difficult. Obviously, you come off the loss to Barcelona. Now you lose to Albacete. You face off against Levante tomorrow at 6 in the morning, Arizona time. But it's not going to continue to get any better. And you can't lose a locker room, especially in your first match. And you can't lose these easy-to-win matches. Now, speaking in terms of the table, sorry, I know this is a little bit of a ramble. Real Madrid is 4 points under from Barcelona, which I will talk about in a little bit. But you got to get these points, and you got to be consistent. You have to find a way to try to win these games to win La Liga, which should be their biggest priority right now.
I completely agree, so much so that Real Madrid is on my loser of the week as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, they lose Xabi Alonso. They bring in Alvaro Arbeloa to be the interim manager, and then they go out and have that upset loss in the Copa del Rey. But you even look back to the start of the week on Sunday, before they get rid of Xabi Alonso, they lose the Super Cup in Saudi Arabia to their biggest rivals, FC Barcelona. It was an absolute disaster of a week for Real Madrid. And really, as we mentioned last week, not even last week, on Monday, with the egos that this side has in their dressing room, they're going to need to find a way to I don't know what the right word would be, but build some chemistry and make sure really some of these guys get a grip on themselves, because the last thing you want is this season to get out of hand because Kylian Mbappe thinks they should be doing things one way while Vinicius thinks another.
Yeah, and it's very difficult, right? Because we've seen this at Real Madrid before. It's a game of egos, and there's really big egos, and that's what happens when you bring some of the best talents in the world. Currently at the moment, or even then at some point in time, and you can't allow for these situations to get out of hand, and you sort of have to put your foot down as the manager. But at the same time, if you put your foot down with these sort of talents, they're just not going to respond, they're not going to perform, and what's going to happen, you're going to get the bad results, and you're going to be the one that gets the boot.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened with Xabi Alonso, where he was trying to get control over these egos within the dressing room, and ultimately it was not receptive. We mentioned about we mentioned the celebration, or not really celebration, but guard of honor for the Super Cup for Barcelona, and the disagreement between Mbappe and Alonso in that scenario, and not to talk too long about Real Madrid in this, but one of the things that has shocked me since Xabi Alonso has departed Real Madrid is the names that are being brought up to replace him. The names that are being brought up to be the permanent manager for Real Madrid. Jurgen Klopp, Enzo Maresca have been rumored within this job. Now, I don't think either of those guys are going to be the Real Madrid manager, but look at what those two guys have had in their club managerial careers, really with Enzo Maresca as well. Maresca just got sacked from Chelsea, or just departed Chelsea, because he had disagreements with the ownership and he had a tough time balancing the egos in the dressing room. Jurgen Klopp himself didn't depart Liverpool because of that, but I have a hard time imagining that he would step into a Real Madrid dressing room and be open to having a Kylian Mbappe try to walk all over him, having a Jude Bellingham, insert his ideas. Now, I'm not saying those two do that, but it's just an example.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing, right? It's already difficult enough when you can't deal with your players, when your players are already causing a ruckus, whether it's in the locker room or out on the pitch. You also have the pressure from one of the most, I want to say, harshest presidents out there. Florentino Perez is no joke. If you were to sit a Kylian Mbappe, if you were to sit a Vinicius Jr., you'd feel the wrath, and you essentially get put into a position where you have to be a yes man. Yes, Florentino. Yes, Kylian. Yes, Vinny. In order to try to keep this running, and it's just, what manager really wants to go in and sort of take that role, take that position?
I don't think there is one. I think they're going to have a difficult time finding a manager if Arbeloa is proven to not be the long-term solution for Real Madrid. Moving on, I'm going to mention one of my winners of the week. We're staying in Madrid for this one, staying in La Liga. Atletico Madrid, I think they're one of my winners. Obviously, as a hate watch side of things, you get to see Real Madrid implode within the week, but you also sell Conor Gallagher on to Tottenham. Conor Gallagher, I thought it was an interesting move for him in the first place to move to Atletico Madrid, because I like him at Chelsea, but I don't think he was good enough to make that jump. That's pretty much what it was shown from the jump at Atletico. He didn't quite fit into Simeone's ideals, and it just never quite got what they wanted out of it. Now, they sold him to Tottenham, and they only lost about 2 million euros, £1 million roughly, from their original deal to buy him from Chelsea. All things considered, sorry. I think this is a great bit of business for Atletico Madrid's side of things. You get rid of some of this dead wood within the side without losing a whole bunch of money that you invested into bringing it in.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. It was always going to be very difficult for Conor Gallagher, just because you've had Koke in that Atletico Madrid midfield for a very long time now. I mean, he's been there since the dawn of time at this point. That's just how long he's been there. But also, you've had a player step up in the name of Barrios. Pablo Barrios has done a phenomenal job with this Atletico Madrid squad. He's played 18 matches this season for the Colchonero side, and he's just, once again, done phenomenal. And you still have players that can plug into that spot. You have a Llorente, and then you have a Simeone that also, who is popped onto the scene and really done great things at this Atletico Madrid squad. So it was always going to be difficult to try to find them a place or even start in the lineup, just because there is quality on this Atletico Madrid side.
Absolutely. And seeing him come back to the Premier League was not a surprise at all. When English players move abroad, they always seem to find a way back into the Premier League as their next club, as their next immediate move. So I'm not shocked. It was between Tottenham and Villa. I think Villa missed out by not getting him. I think he's a guy who would have raised their levels. For Tottenham, we'll see. I do think he raises their levels, but Tottenham have enough problems going on. Regardless of bringing in Conor Gallagher, Joa'o, bring some positivity in for yourself. What is a winner of the week for you?
One of my winners of the week has to be Manchester City. The Manchester side just ended up closing on Marc Guehi for a proposed fee of 20 million Great British pounds. Once again, I think I talked about it earlier, or at least a couple weeks ago in the pod. I said that this Manchester City squad had to find depth, especially with the losses of Ruben Diaz. Which they have seemed to do so far. Now, their defense has been doing well in this season. Without them, they've been able to put up good, consistent performances in Kushnov, and I don't know how to say his name, Eileen. But once again, it's a great signing. It's an even better feat. It's a player who has experience. It's a player who's competing for a spot on the national team. I can't put a cohesive thought today, but also this Manchester City squad has been on a good run of form. Obviously, you have the 10-1 result to Exeter, and then you beat Newcastle 2-0 in the EFL Cup. And I feel like this can go ahead and do them good as they go into the Manchester Derby, which we will end up talking about here in a little.
I'm sticking with the Manchester City theme because I do think they have had an excellent week. I mean, bringing in a Marc Guehi for 20 million pounds is a steal. You know, that they use some extreme couponing to get that deal done here, because I think this is a guy who's worth 40 million plus. Obviously, his contract expires in this summer. So you have, the issues of the depth that you mentioned, the injuries to some of the center backs in that room. But now you bring in a guy who's starting for England for only 20 million. It is a great deal. But one of my winners of the week, Antoine Semenyo, makes the move to Manchester City. 2 goals, 1 assist in the first 2 games. Obviously, you mentioned the Exeter game. That's a bit of a coup. That game really doesn't count in my eyes, but he picks up a goal and assist. Then in the first leg of the semifinal of the Carabao Cup against Newcastle, away to Newcastle in St. James Park, Joa'o's favorite ground, he scores a good goal in that one as well to give Man City the lead. Antoine Semenyo, we've mentioned it before on this podcast. This is a very, very talented player. Getting him into Manchester City's system is going to boost them so far up the table. I really think that this is a team that's probably going to win the league now, just because you bring in Semenyo, you bring in Guehi. All in all, these are 2 fabulous January transfer window moves after last year's January transfer window where it was completely the opposite. And we spoke about that quite a few times, where last year it was a disaster and it cost them the title in many ways. This year, it's the opposite, and I think it's going to win them the title.
Oh, for sure. And it's just, once again, these big teams, these teams who go ahead and compete for championships, it's smart buys, it's reasonable buys, it's experienced buys. And Manchester City, once again, they take care of business. They cover all the boxes, and it should be interesting. This race is going to go down to the wire, but if Arsenal can keep up picking up results, I mean, I don't see them losing it. But once again, we'll have to wait and see. We're barely in January. This thing doesn't end till what, June?
May, yeah. Joa'o, I think when the inverted microphone starts making merch, which won't be soon by any means, but when that day comes, because it's not if, it's when, the first thing we're going to sell is a t-shirt that says, "We just have to wait and see." All right? Because I think both of us say it a lot. You definitely say it more than me, but I'm definitely guilty of it as well.
Yeah, it's
we'll have to wait and see for when that merch comes.
Who knows if you guys share this with your family, friends, dogs, cats, mailmen, milkmen. Maybe it'll be sooner than later. But once again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to go ahead and go on to my next loser for this week. It has to be Robert Sanchez. He had a difficult game against Arsenal. He ended up conceding 3 goals. Obviously, that's not the reason why I'm putting him in this position. He had 2 errors that ended up leading to goal. Only had 3 saves. You can't really do that, especially in a match like this. Honestly, I thought we were going to see 2 watered-down squads, or at least a watered-down squad from Arsenal side, just because they have bigger fish to fry. But no, they went out with a almost complete starting 11. The only thing that really changed was the keeper, and Leandro Trossard started in the lineup. But once again, You can't commit these mistakes, especially in games like this. Now there are two legs to this thing, so hopefully he will be able to recover and do better. But you got to do better, Sanchez. You can't be committing these mistakes.
Unfortunately, it's a very Robert Sanchez thing to do, to go out and make these mistakes time and time again. Throughout his career, it's something that he's been known for. I mean, when he was with Forest Green Rovers, the only reason I know this is because when he signed for Chelsea, Forest Green Rovers posted a TikTok themselves showing some of the errors that he made in his career, which feels insanely disrespectful to me. But again, I have to agree, has to be one of the losers of the week. He's not one of mine, but I have another winner of the week. I'm staying positive just so I can end on a very negative note. Alejandro Garnacho from this Chelsea Arsenal game as well. He came out and had one of the best games, very much could be of his career, but definitely in a Chelsea shirt. 2 goals off the bench. He only had 4 goals and 3 assists in 21 games before this game. Can't speak there. As I mentioned, the 2 goals, by the end of it, it was honestly leaving Arsenal fans in fear because of some of the moves he is making. It was incredible. It didn't feel like I was watching Garnacho when he was playing this game. And, maybe Man United gave up too early.
Again, this is a this is a very difficult conversation to have, especially when it's regarding our good friend Zachariah Durasic's favorite player, Alejandro Garnacho. Favorite player of all time. But yeah, he had these flashes at Manchester United as well, and he had these moments where you'd see him play and you're like, dang, this guy is gonna do big things. If he can do it with Chelsea, I mean, it'd be good. Again, it's just, this game of football is very unpredictable, especially for younger guys and especially at a team like Manchester United, because if you don't perform, you're getting thrown out the back door. And once again, he's young. He has time to develop. He could have a good comeback story, but it's something that he'll have to continue to work for, and it's something that he'll definitely have to continue demonstrating why he deserves to be playing at the highest level. Last game was a great example of that.
I think one of Garnacho's traits is that it's never been about the talent with Garnacho. I think everyone has always been in agreement that Garnacho has the talent to be a Premier League caliber player, to play for Argentina, to be a great player, but it's the attitude. And I think that's something that led to the demise of his time with Manchester United, was he didn't have the attitude, to work with Ruben Amorim and to do all these things to get into the squad, to get back into the fold after he was dropped before that Manchester derby alongside Rashford. I do think he also could have handled some of the things he did in his departure better, but at the end of the day, we'll have to see what the future holds for him. Put it on a t-shirt. I changed the wording up, so I'm not copying you there, Joa'o.
I was gonna go for that. We'll have to wait and see. But then I was like, oh, he'll have to win it throughout his performance. I didn't want to repeat it. It's something becomes too repetitive, and I apologize for those listening to it. It's just once again, especially when we're talking about the future, it's something that we can't really decide on right now in this current moment.
That was good. Give me a winner, Joa'o. Winner of the week.
One of my winners of the week has to be Internazionale Milano in Serie A. I just think that the squad, they've played a couple of difficult matches so far. In their last 5, they've faced off against Atalanta. They end up winning that game. Bologna, they end up winning that game. They face a top 3 rival in Napoli. You draw 2-2. So in the fixture side of it, they've been doing a very decent job. But also, I wanna go ahead and highlight their transfers. They've been doing a great job in the January window, and really releasing players who aren't necessarily playing for the squad, as we know, or as it's been said many times. Inter is a team that's in financial problems right now, and you end up releasing players like Nicolas Zaweski. You end up having a lot of these players on loan, but also you end up getting a lot of money off these loans as well. For example, Benjamin Pavard, he ends up going to Marseille. That's 2.9 million US dollars right there. I just think that they're doing a great job on this, and in the same way that they've been picking up these players for cheap fees as well, they're doing what they can and they're taking care of business. They are only clear by 3 points, but if they remain consistent in the results, it is very possible that they could lift up another Scudetto this year.
I think that's been one of my favorite things about Serie A these last 4 or 5 years is it's been a different champion every season. While it's been, the same three clubs winning it, no team's gone back to back. The Juventus dominance is over. Now they are not even dominating a single match. Well, granted, they're only in fourth, but they're not the Juventus of old. I'm gonna stay negative, or I'm gonna go negative actually. Give you my second loser of the week because I have no more winners. My loser of the week, Mo Salah, right? This is an interesting one. Egypt, Mo Salah had high expectations going into this AFCON. They lose in the semifinal to Senegal. They have the third place playoff, which, quite frankly, I don't care about in any competition about who finishes third place. But once again, they lose to Senegal. They've lost to Senegal in the final in 2022. Or rather, they lost to Senegal in 2021, the final. This is not the first time that Egypt have gone far into AFCON and ended up without the trophy. They were runners-up in 2017. Egypt has not won one with Salah, which is incredible to say. The last time they won AFCON was 2010. Salah made his Egypt debut in 2011. To have inarguably your greatest ever player end up without the greatest trophy in your continent is insane to say.
Yeah, and it's just once again these debates and who's Africa's best player of all time, or even then we've seen it in the GOAT debates and the all-time debates with Ronaldo and Messi. Messi has a World Cup, Ronaldo doesn't have a World Cup. Trophies are a big thing that come into play, and it's just I totally understand where you're coming from. When you first said it, I was in shock. I was like, wow, what's the reasoning behind this? But looking at it further, you're supposed to take care of business. You're supposed to bring it home. And it's very disappointing when you don't. And it's very disappointing when you've been regarded as one of the best wingers in the world for the past 4 or 5 years now.
It also isn't unprecedented for the best African player to end up, or not maybe the best, depending on who you think, but one of the best to end up without an AFCON trophy. You look at Didier Drogba, he never won one. He was runner-up twice, 2006 and 2012, but was never able to lift that crown. It is obviously a difficult competition to win, as are all international competitions, but to not win it, especially in what likely will be your last ever one at your peak, if you can say Salah's at his peak, because the next one he plays in, he won't be the same player he is now. He definitely isn't the same player he is from the last AFCON. It's got to be a feeling of severe disappointment for Mo Salah and definitely Egypt as well.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, it's just very it's very disappointing, and we've seen this multiple times with big players. I mean, not only in Africa, but in Europe. I mean, I thought that this was going to be the story of Cristiano Ronaldo as well with the Euros if he hadn't capitalized on it. But it's very disappointing, and I have no additional words to really say for it. I'm gonna go ahead and hit on my
Before you go, I want to say one more thing, because you said it was almost the story of Ronaldo's time with Portugal. It was very well almost the story of Messi's time with Argentina. People forget that he retired from international football on multiple occasions because he did not lift the Copa America trophy until finally getting it in 2021, and then he lifts the World Cup the year after. It's a weird thing in world football that the best players likely end their career without an international trophy. But go on with your loser or winner. You got a choice here.
I'm going with a winner. I'm staying positive. And I'm going from the same match, from that same Senegal-Egypt match. I have to go with Sadio Mane. He ended up scoring Senegal's lone goal to go ahead and win this match. Only one shot from him the entire game. The man was lethal. But not only that, he was great in the build-up attack as well. I mean, he was very accurate with his passes. He had 85% pass completion. He had 4 chances created. This man was everywhere on the pitch, and he should give Morocco a good run for their money in this AFCON final.
I am excited to watch that this weekend. See who can come out on top in the final. As you mentioned, Senegal versus Morocco. Morocco, the hosts of the tournament. They have done very well for themselves despite needing penalties to knock off Nigeria. But Joa'o, give me another loser.
Another loser. Ooh. I didn't plan ahead this far. Nah,
You didn't.
Joking with you.
Okay.
I'm just joking with you. One of my losers has to go ahead and be. We talked about him last week, and just with the way that things are going, and just such a big match that they have, it has to be Manchester United. Obviously, you go off from losing to Brighton 2-1. I just think that the reason that they're my loser, especially because of that match that I'm highlighting, has to be their lack of finishing. You can't create 19 shots and only have, 2 big chances. You have to be able to finish those moments. Yes, are you going to be under another interim manager? Yes, but once again, you have to get adjusted to his back 4, and it's not going to get any better. And I'm just sort of foreshadowing with this Manchester United squad. I don't think they pull off anything against City. I think that City, attacking wise, they're too much offensively. They're too much offensively, and when you're playing a back line of, I'm gonna go based off of last time's back line. When you're playing a back line of Patrick Dorgu, Lisandro Martinez, Lenny Yoro, and Diogo Dalot, it's just not very expected that you're going to be able to stop players like Braut Erling Haaland. It's going to be a bloodbath, and I'm just sort of foreshadowing to our next segment, but Manchester United has to be my losers for this week.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to round it out. I honestly think, Joa'o, with SportsCenter not top 10, the number one play for like a year and a half was the butt fumble, the Marc Sanchez butt fumble. For those who don't know, he ran into his own offensive lineman, fumbled the ball. I think the inverted microphone could very well do the same with loser of the week and just permanently have Manchester United in there unless something crazy happens over the next 10 years, which I'll be shocked. To round things out with this segment, and it's a great transition to our Palace segment, which gives you a hint at who my final loser of the week is. It's Crystal Palace. It has to be Crystal Palace. Only reason I saved them for last is for transition purposes. You lose Marc Guehi for 20 million. That is well below market value. Oliver Glasner has announced that he will leave Palace at the end of the season. He's likely going to be a prime candidate for the Manchester United job. And then you're also out of the FA Cup in embarrassing fashion, losing to Macclesfield FC in the National League North by a scoreline of 2-1. All in all, a very, very embarrassing week that really was catapulted by that FA Cup loss and has just gone downhill since. Again, back to start things off, with Marc Guehi, his departure, losing him for £20 million when you were going to lose him for free isn't bad, right? Because you were going to lose it. It was a surefire thing that he was going to leave Crystal Palace. For what team? Who knew? But he was going to leave. You should have sold him in the summer, realistically, because this price tag that you've received is absurd to me.
Yeah, it's just, with this Crystal Palace squad, you had a much higher expectations for the season. Obviously, you lose a couple of pieces, but once again, you have to be smarter in your negotiations. Glasner not coming back, it's not a surprise, just because he's gone through that rebuild phase already with the squad, just sort of bringing back up to what they are now. And it's just who really wants to do that over and over again? Who really wants to repeat that cycle again? It's gonna become much more difficult for Crystal Palace, especially come June. I'm not gonna be surprised if I see them fall into their old ways. I'm gonna be completely honest here.
I agree. And back on Oliver Glasner, where do you think he ends up? Because obviously Manchester United is going to be the team that is linked the most, because they have a vacancy at the end of the season once Michael Carrick leaves the interim role. But Oliver Glasner is a guy who plays a 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3 system. Does that sound familiar to you? Because he does. And that's exactly what Ruben Amorim played, which was a complete and utter disaster for Manchester United. Do you think that's the best fit for him? I know we spoke about this before, but give me some more thoughts.
Thinking about it now, I have to go for no. I know that he was somebody I did want to see for a Manchester United job, but here's the thing. When you have a manager like Oliver Glasner, he is not going to be your yes man. And Manchester United right now, they're similar to Real Madrid, and that's the only way they'll be similar to them for a very good while, and that they're looking for a yes man. They want that yes man. I don't think Glasner's going to be that yes man. And once again, you have to force Glasner to adapt to a new formation as well. You have to tell him, hey, you have to abandon what your expertise is in and play something else. And I don't think he's gonna be like, yeah, I'll totally just play a back four, even though I've been playing a 3-back for various seasons now. I don't think it's the best. I don't think it's the best fit. If he goes to Manchester United, I won't be disappointed because he's a manager with Premier League experience. But it's a cautionary tale that could unfold once again.
Yeah, I have very much the same sentiments there. I think Oliver Glasner was the perfect manager for a club like Crystal Palace, where the expectations aren't low, but you raise those expectations based off your own not your own preferences, your own performances. And that's what he did. He won the FA Cup and got you into Europe for the first time. If he goes to a club like Manchester United, where the expectation will be high, the expectation will be to get back into the Champions League, I think this is something that would fail. Now, we'll have to see what the direction would be tactically, if he would be able to adjust, because I don't think he is as stubborn as Ruben Amorim, because Ruben, God bless him, we spoke so many times about how he is so stubborn on this podcast. It makes me sick, honestly. It does. Because a manager should not be that way.
No.
I think Glasner's better than that. But again, if he takes this job, I think he would be I think he'd be good tactically, because I think he would adjust, but I don't think he would be able to have the man management skills to manage some of these guys, some of these egos.
Yeah, and do you know who this seems, or do you know who seems very do you know who this seems very familiar to? Who? This reminds me of when Manchester United went for Louis van Gaal in 2014. He had that great run of performances in that World Cup with the Netherlands. He takes the Manchester United job. The pressure was just too much. He couldn't manage the egos. If I'm not wrong, at the time, that's when you had a Paul Pogba, a Zlatan Ibrahimovic, just very big egos in that locker room. He ended up going 54, 24, 25, which, given you have more wins than losses, but once again, you have to try to fight for trophies, and he couldn't necessarily do it. This is what this seems to me. It's something very similar, and it's just something that didn't end up succeeding. And I think it's a very similar tale with Glasner.
Yeah, I think that is a good comparison there. Louis van Gaal, though, in credit to him, is very similar to like a Ruben Amorim, though.
Yeah,
in his stubbornness. He's probably the most stubborn guy ever. I'm reaching down to pick up this book that I've been reading, Zonal Marking, right? Now, this is great timing that you bring up Louis van Gaal, Joa'o, because the book talks about Louis van Gaal's relationship with Johan Cruyff, and the two are polar opposites, where Cruyff even though they are Dutch, they are from Amsterdam. They're polar opposites in the way that they do things. Cruyff was very hands off and would let guys do anything, and Van Gaal, total just nut job in the way that he was so controlled. Now, obviously, that's not what the point of this podcast is, but it's ironic when you're reading a book that Joa'o brings up. Shout out you, Joa'o. I think we should turn our attention now to the biggest game of the weekend. It's this little side from Manchester, the outskirts of Manchester, playing Manchester City. It's a game that is going to be difficult for the underdogs. Oh, Manchester United is the underdog. Sorry, for those who didn't pick up on what I was putting down. Manchester United, Manchester City. It's at Old Trafford, so you've got something going for you. It's going to be an absolute nightmare, I think, for Manchester United. I doubt Marc Guehi's going to play just because the move just went through on the Friday. I strongly doubt he might be included on the bench, but again, I doubt it. Antoine Semenyo's first Premier League match for Manchester City. I'm going to get this out of the way now. The only hope that I have for this game is that it is not anything close to the game that we saw at Old Trafford last season between these two sides. That was an absolute disgusting match of football. 0-0 draw. 7 shots on target in the whole game, but neither team produced an expected goal mark north of 1. Absolutely horrible, horrible game. Only one big chance. Do you think it'll be that bad? Or what are your expectations going into this game for either side?
Well, look, I think for Manchester City, Pep Guardiola recognizes that Manchester United is a team that's necessary. That if you put it in terms of nature, they're a fish that's bleeding out, and Manchester City is a shark, and they're smelling the blood, so they want to go for it. They want to hurt the wounded animal. Not saying that Manchester United is an animal, but we see it in nature all the time. I think that Manchester City they're going to be ultra aggressive on the attacking front. I don't think they're going to be conservative. I think for this Manchester United squad, they're really going to try to sit back. They're going to try to sit back. I don't think they try to fight. Michael Carrick, it's going to be a very difficult task because you're facing one of the best managers in the world whenever it comes to tactics. It's going to be very difficult because it's a heavyweight against a lightweight, and the heavyweight has all the advantages, and the lightweight has to just get in the corner and then take all the punches and hope he doesn't get knocked out.
I'm sorry, Joa'o. It's not a heavyweight versus a lightweight. It is a super heavyweight versus a flyweight. What we are going to see between these two, it is two teams that are in very, very different parts of what they're going to accomplish this season, right? I mentioned earlier how Manchester City is a title contender, but one that I think is probably poised to win the title after what they did this January, right? They, again, brought in Semenyo, brought in Guehi. Man United have effectively written this season off as a bust, right? Because they only are going to play 40 games this season. They're not appointing a permanent manager solution until next season. I think because of all these factors considered, Manchester United should walk all over Man City. Sorry, other way around. Manchester City should walk all over Manchester United. The reason I said it that way around originally is because look at what happened last season, where Manchester United should have been beaten both times they played Man City, right? And that wasn't the case. They went to the Etihad and pulled off a miraculous 2-1 win, which really was just the most absurd game I've ever seen, where Man United were down 1-0 for the length of the match, come back, last 5 minutes, score twice, and then that boring 0-0 draw. But at the end of the day, you still take 4 points off Man City. I know you got pummeled early on this season at the Etihad, but I think there is a chance City slip up.
You can't you can't fill a fan base like Manchester United's with hope, just because I feel like fans who've been watching this team for more than 5 years now, there's no expectation. The expectation is dead. There's no hope, and the newer fans, you can't give them that hope, because that hope it's very, 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 very dangerous. Now it makes sense in what you're saying, but once again, also I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Arsenal is 6 points clear of Manchester City. If United pulls off a result tomorrow, will you be celebrating it like if it were your own?
No.
Even if Arsenal has a chance to go 9 points clear, you're not celebrating it like if it's your own.
No.
Are you sure? I'm going to ask you this after.
I am sure. I think the reason I'm saying this is because I very well know that Arsenal are going to slip up against Forest if that happens. That's just the way it's gone. When City drew against Brighton, what did Arsenal immediately do? They drew against Liverpool. Granted, that's very different tiers of opposition, but that was a prime position to go 8 points clear at that time. I think you can really only celebrate teams dropping points when you're at match 28. There's 10 games left. We're not quite there yet. It's match day 22, but we'll see. Again, I think there's either the possibility that happens, or because it is a derby game, or it's an absolute pummeling, and Manchester United fans around the world leave the stadium crying, but also watch on television crying. Do you have a score prediction to round things out on this before we move on to a Kid 11?
I have Manchester City winning this game 4-1.
Yeah.
Who
scores?
I think Haaland hits a hat trick, and I think Semenyo has one and has a crazy celly.
Ooh.
And for Manchester United,
own goal.
I think it's off for a counter attack. I can see Šeško scoring off of a counter attack, and it's the only one, and it's the only one he'll score out of like the 8 chances he has all game.
Well, Joa'o, thank you for bringing some positivity as the United guy with your score prediction. I'm gonna go a much closer game in my score prediction, but ultimately still a Manchester City victory, even though I did say they could slip up 2-1, just because derby game. Now you have to travel to the Old Trafford ground, to Old Trafford. I don't know. We'll see. Moving on. Segment that we previewed early in the show, vaguely. We've done this segment before. Last week, Joa'o and I did our best celebrations starting 11. Now, if you're following on TikTok, social media, whatever, you haven't seen all the shorts. Why? Because it's timely. We can post whenever, so we're going slow. This will also be posted fairly slow, so thank you for tuning in on the podcast so you get it first. It is our kit 11. I want to be very clear. Football kits. Now, Joa'o and I had some talking about this, right? Because you can do your 11 best kits of all time, football shirts of all time, but that's kind of boring, right? It's just kind of a boring way to do it. It's been done before. Just say your 11 best. It's also, I didn't want to create a different graphic template. We're doing our best football kit 11, right? But we're doing it in a different way. We're doing, so if the goalkeeper kit obviously has to be a goalkeeper kit. But for center backs, we're doing a kit that gives us the vibe of a center back. All right? For striker, the vibe of a striker, so on and so forth. You get the point. Joa'o, do you want to start at the front with striker or the back with goalkeeper? You did striker last week. We can stick with what's been tried and true, or we can do something new. What do you to choose?
I have to go with goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper. Okay, changing it up.
I have to go with goalkeeper. This one was one that I was going to use at striker. Instead, I've opted to use it as goalkeeper. It's from the same year, same team. I have to go with Mexico's 1998 goalkeeper jersey. Has to be the colorful Jorge Campos jersey. I can't see this going anywhere else.
See, that is one that you could have played at striker because it is Jorge Campos. Electrifying kits for an electrifying player. I miss that era of goalkeeper kits. What we see nowadays with every team wearing the same template, only changing for what brand you have, is terrible. It's terrible. I hate it. But for my goalkeeper kit, 1998 World Cup, Asics Japan shirt with flames on it all the way from the bottom to the top. The black shirt, absolutely beautiful. It's what a goalkeeper kit should be, but then you throw in that design. I love that era of goalkeeper kits, as I mentioned, and I just think this one is the pinnacle of the pinnacle of the pinnacle of goalkeeper kits.
That's such a great selection, and oh wow, I'm looking at it. I'm gonna be looking at yours as I go, just because I may not know them off the top of my head. That's such a great selection. That's such a great selection. Now I'm gonna go left back, center back, right back. For my left back, I have to go with a jersey from 1998. I have to go with Brazil's home jersey, 1998. It was also utilized by one of the best left backs of all time, in Roberto Carlos. I just think that this jersey, it fits the vibe of that left back in that day. And once again, just so many great moments that we ended up seeing from this player in this jersey. I couldn't have gone any other route.
All right. I went a bit of a different route with my fullbacks because the fullback is the position where you're good enough to play football, but no one really knows what your strong suit is, so they just kind of chuck you out onto the pitch. So every other position kind of fits the vibe. You know, there's a guy I'm thinking of in my head to that makes it represent it. But this, my left back, you're going to have to look this up, Joa'o. I'm telling you to get your keyboard ready. The 2020 Inaria Providence City home shirt. I'll give you a hint at which one it is. It's the Jaws themed shirt. Absolutely beautiful. Providence City is in like the 6th division. I don't even know what league they play in. They play in like an amateur soccer league in the East Coast. But this kit and so many of the other ones they have are absolutely beautiful. They have that one. They have donut themed ones. Joa'o, what are your thoughts on seeing it for the first time?
Yo, my jaw just dropped.
Your jaw dropped
My
for the
jaw
Jaws
just
themed kit. That is beautiful.
Dude, this thing is so cool. You have the, I'm gonna try to describe it. It's a white base, and then like the bottom half, it's like the blue ocean. You have your hammerhead shark going for the lady in the ocean, and then the way the sponsor fits on it as well, Revival Brewing Co. Ooh, that's so tough. I never would have came up with something like this. You might have won this whole thing just with that one jersey. Wow. Wow, I'm just in shock.
I'm glad to hear it. Joa'o, do you have a center back in mind now?
Yes, I do. I have to go with I had various options for this and I had to narrow it down. I had to go with Bayern Munich's 1999 home jersey. It's 98, 99. They use it till 2000 if I'm not wrong. I just think that this jersey, here's the thing. When I think of a center back's jersey, I think of collared. I think of something classy. And I think this jersey fits all the boxes, especially with the utilization of colors that they have. I think that these are colors that fit the club. They're colors that represent the club very well, and there's just a lot of history behind this jersey as well. They used it in a European Cup final, which they actually ended up losing to Manchester United, but has to be one of my favorites for the center back position.
Joa'o, I want you to expand on that just a little bit more because I'm going to go into my closet and get the next or two of the next 3 shirts I'm picking because I actually have them, all right? So just keep the people occupied for a few minutes.
Yeah, So once again, this jersey really reminds me of Lothar Matthaus. It's a great base, red and blue stripes. Really like it. I would move on to my next center back jersey, but I'm gonna let Reese grab his. But I actually have two of the jerseys that I am gonna talk about in a little bit. But now I just need Reese to go ahead and come back. But yeah, I like the jersey because of the colors, and once again, in my opinion, just a classic. And when I have the funds to get it, I will be acquiring a lot of these jerseys that I have on my list.
Well, I will be in that. Oh my god, I will be in that same position one day. You know, when the inverted microphone when the inverted microphone gets it big, I will get every single one on this list. But my first center back pick. You mentioned when you think of a center back goalkeeper. When you think of a center back kit, it's got to have a collar. Well, this one has a collar. It's the 1990 Umbro England third shirt.
Sorry, that's so
Light
mature.
blue design. Absolutely beautiful. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal pattern on it. I love just the patterns, the striping on the cuffs. Absolutely beautiful shirt. Now, Italia 90 was a bit of a disaster for England given how it ended. But still, nonetheless, when you have a shirt like this, no tournament can be a disaster.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's such a great pick. I totally forgot you had this kit. I'm not gonna lie, but great selection, great pattern, great design. It ticks all the boxes.
Yeah. Give me
Now,
another center back.
for my next center back, I don't know. It's because here's the thing: when I'm choosing these kits, I'm looking at who it reminds me of, and who I can really put this kit towards. I have to go for Real Madrid's home 2013 kit. This is possibly one of the most modern that I have. I had two selections with this. It was either that kit or it was Roma's home 2018 kit, just because of the comeback they had against Barcelona. But I ended up going on Real Madrid's just because of that Ramos and Pepe combination. And then the nameplate that it had on the back as well. It wasn't a traditional like block nameplate. It was more like a stroke of like a brush. So I think with the center back pairing that they had and just with the iconic moments that were in that jersey, that has to be my selection for center back.
That is a good selection. I know we're not gonna have too many modern kits on here, given I think both of us have retro taste, but it's a good one for certain. One of my center backs though is actually as modern can get, because this nation, when I think of it, it's good center backs, good defenses, and then you have a kit like this. My center back is the 2026 Germany home shirt. I think this is the best German shirt ever. Germany's had some great kits over the years. It's hard to really pick one, but the design of the German flag going from the left shoulder all the way down to like the chest and the right shoulder down to the chest, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it encapsulates a national team kit because you've got the flag in there, you've got the design. I think it's a classic. And then it's a modern day classic, I think.
Yeah, it's a modern day classic. It's a good take on a iconic jersey. And it's really just it's a great farewell from Adidas to Germany. Obviously they're breaking up their partnership. They're going with Nike at some point in the future. So I think it's a great farewell, and it has history behind it as well. It has history behind it. Not a bad selection. For my right back jersey, I had to go. I have a different take on it. I went more for a center back kit. This is one of my favorite kits of all time. I have to go for Leon's 1995 home jersey. It's a white, blue, and red jersey. I think that it's so classic. I think that in my eyes, especially a right back is somebody who's versatile, but a right back is someone who has class. They can cross the ball. They can start that build up from the back. And I don't know. I prefer a more classic take on the right back than what we do today with wing backs and with these overlapping runs. It's not my taste. So that's the kit I'm going for. Leon's 1995 home kit.
I agree, and even though it is one of those Adidas templates, I think the 90s and 80s had some banger template kits. Like that one is a very good Club America kit. You know, you change the colors. That one is a very, very solid pick. For mine, as I said with my left back, the right back, I'm kind of just going for whatever fits, whatever works. A kit that I like. This one is not from a footballing nation that you really think about. One that, you know, you're not really expecting to see him, right? But this is a team that has consistently put out banger after banger after banger. I don't even think this is really their best one, but I have it, so I had to put it in there. And I just love the design. My right back is the Bohemians. 2025 away shirt made by O'Neill's. You've got the Guinness sponsor, the red stripes all across the shirt, but you also have the cream body to represent the head of a Guinness. The goalkeeper, when they wear this shirt, wears a black shirt, all black kit to match like the body or the rest of the Guinness. I think it's absolutely beautiful kit and goalkeeper kit combo, but it's also just a really, really nice shirt in my eyes.
That's again. I think that with something as iconic as Guinness in the UK,
In Ireland
as well. Ireland as well.
The Bohemians would get very upset with you if you called them a UK club.
Don't hurt me. You're not.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just going for things in a broader spectrum. UK, Ireland,
The British Isles.
the British Isles. Yes, the British Isles. That's more the term that I wanted to use. It's something so iconic, and it's something that really a lot of fans can get behind. That's a great choice. I'm employing another 4-3-3. Now this kit, obviously, I think that this is an obvious pick. It has to be Netherlands 1988 home kit. That orange kit, just absolutely beautiful, used by great players such as Ronald Koeman, which I could have used at the center back position, but also Ruud Gullit. Once again, just great players, great kit. Again, for a lot of iconic moments with this kit, it had to be on this list.
I completely agree with you. I actually have it as one of my picks, but you know what? I did this last time. I don't have to do it, but I'm going to change just for the love of the game. Just for the love of the game. I think that, though, when I think that shirt, I think Ruud Gullit. I think, Ruud Gullit's long hair. I think it's just an incredible shirt that is just stood the test of time, right? They could bring this back tomorrow and nobody nowhere would complain. But for one of my midfielders, though, I'm going to go 1986 Hummel Denmark home shirt, half and half. Absolutely beautiful shirt. They've brought it back a few times over recent years. I think this is just an incredible design, and I think it would work. This is a shirt that has been brought back as a template. This would be one that you change the colors, you change that right side or that second half to a full blue base with the red and white on the other side. That'd be a phenomenal US shirt, but still, nonetheless, Denmark with a phenomenal kit.
And here's the thing, they've always had these classy kits. They've always had these great kits. Another great selection. I didn't want to reveal too much for my next pick because you had done it for your center back position. I've gone for the retro version of it. I have to go with West Germany's 1988 to 1990 jersey. My apologies, getting the years mixed up. Great jersey. Once again, you have your flag running as a little zigzag right below the chest. Reminds me of players like Lothar Matthaus. And just a great jersey from a great time. Adidas has brought it back with a modern take. But once again, I think both interpretations are honestly phenomenal.
Yeah, this isn't even the first time they've done it. 2018, they brought it back. That one was relatively boring by comparison, but still, you can really go no wrong with it. No wrong with any decision making with a Germany and Adidas. Geez, that took a long time to think about, but still, absolutely beautiful decision making. My next midfielder, this one was tough. I was between two shirts, right? And they have two drastically different stories and different successes with them, right? It's the same team though. I'm going with the 2006 France away shirt, the one where Zinedine Zidane had the headbutt in the final, the blending from the blue to right on the stripe in the middle, the all white shirt. I know it's associated with the most iconic moment in footballing history on the negative side for the French, but when you have a shirt that brings in your nation's colors, has an iconic template design like that, it's hard to go wrong with. The one I was thinking about putting instead of this one was another Zidane kit, was a 1998 home shirt where they won the World Cup. But ultimately, I just got swayed by that blue to red stripe. And of course, the Zidane headbutt.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you could go wrong with the jersey like that, especially with the history it has, especially with the way it integrates, your country's colors and the way everything just seamlessly fits in as well. It's a great pick. For my last midfielder pick, I have to go with Colombia's 1994 to 1996 home jersey. Just it's iconic, it's classic. Great color. Carlos Valderrama ended up using it. There's a lot more history for it. I was going to use it at my center back position. That was one of my picks because there is history with one of their players. Rest in peace, Andres Escobar. But once again, just a kit for a country who was ecstatic in the group stages. Obviously, you go out in a disappointing fashion, but I don't think you can go wrong with a Colombia jersey from that era.
That is a good pick. I think I was gonna pick that one, but again, we're gonna change things up. Because why not? I'm gonna go with the one that you associate with a player that made one of our dear friends, the late great. And he's not dead, but he may as well be if he's not shown up on the podcast. Zach Tarasic. I'm going for a Paul Pogba shirt, 2015-16, Juventus away, the pink with the white stripe, the brighter pink stripe, the Jeep logo. It is so iconic. I honestly think any of those Jeep shirts from that era that Paul Pogba was with Juventus, you could go for just because they're the simple design. But when you have pink, it makes it instantly more iconic in my eyes. And then you have a player like Paul Pogba, absolutely.
And that rendition of that Juventus jersey, I mean, once again, they had used pink before in the past. They had that pink jersey with like the black star a couple years before that.
Mm-hmm.
You bring back a pink kit that it has style. And for the players that they had at the time, like Paul Pogba, who's really big in style, who's a player with flair, you can never go wrong with that jersey. I am going to let you go at the left winger position first, because I'm also going to get two kits of my own, which I'm going to use in the forward position. I'll be right back.
I'm excited to see what Joa'o gets. He turned the camera off for this, so he is giving us absolutely zero spoilers as to what they could be. I know quite a bit of Joa'o's, kit collection, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what he brings out. Now, for the first forward, I'm going left winger. It's going to be the 2021-2022 Jordan PSG fourth kit. Initially, when I saw it, I was like, eh. Then I saw it in FIFA when they were giving it out for free. Absolutely beautiful. I can't wait for Joa'o to come back so we can discuss this kit. I think it's a polarizing design, right? You know, you either love this shirt or you hate it. I think having a fourth shirt was a little woke nonsense. You may as well just save it for the next year and make it your away. But the Jordan PSG collab has never not failed. Joao, I'm gonna repeat because you weren't here. The shirt I went with for my left winger position was the 2020-21 Jordan PSG fourth shirt. The pink mixed with the purple, the splotches all over the shirt. I think that it's a beautiful, beautiful shirt. I know I've had quite a few modern shirts in my list, but this one I absolutely love. I think a lot of that era of PSG had some really, really good shirts, especially when they were first integrating Jordan into their shirts. This one, though, is the pinnacle of it for me.
Yeah, and it's a great design. I've always been a fan of the PSG Jordan shirts, especially when they rolled them out in 2018-19, with that black one, the black one with the white stripes
Yeah.
going through the middle, notorious with Neymar. That you can't go wrong with that kit. It's a great modern kit. I think it encapsulates sort of what you should do with a modern kit. A great selection of colors, just something that it goes beyond football. I think it's also a big fashion statement. Now I've gone retro with mine. Once again, you've seen this jersey. I'm saving the one you haven't seen for my striker position. I've worn it a couple times as well. I have to go for I'm putting my microphone down. I have to go for my 1998 Chivas home jersey. This kit, just once again, at the time, team was very dominant. Team was in great shape. I think that with the colors, you go for the classic red, white, the Coca-Cola sponsor and the Soul sponsor once again. Just
Ooh.
absolute beautiful kit. Very happy to have it in my collection.
I can get on board with the Soul sponsor there. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And the Coca-Cola sponsor fits perfectly. For my striker, I'm going the 2005-2006 Nike Arsenal home shirt. I think Thierry Henry. I think just the beautiful classiness of the shirt, you know, the maroon, the collar. My dad has it. Absolutely beautiful. And again, it's so classy at the same time. Some of these shirts that I've picked are chaos, like the PSG one I mentioned, the Providence City one. But then when you have this amount of class in a shirt, you can never, ever go wrong.
Yeah, once again, it's just I love classy jerseys. I love a jersey that you could wear on a nice little dinner. Like if you're going out for dinner, you throw on a jersey that's like a polo. You put on a jersey, it's classy, it fits with an outfit, it goes great, but the history behind it as well. And speaking of history, once again, World Cup coming to United States, Mexico, and Canada this year. I had to go from when it was played in Mexico or sorry, not Mexico. That was before. I'm stupid, but it is a Mexico kit. I have to go for it. Mexico's 1998 jersey. This is a jersey I haven't worn. It's a jersey that I've kept here at home just because I don't want anything to happen to it. This is my baby. This is my precious. Obviously, we have the Aztec calendar. I have Ramon Ramirez on the back just because when I was growing up, my dad always talked about this player, watch his highlights. He was great with this national team. Obviously, a lot of people have the Matador Hernandez jersey, but I opted to go for the Ramon Ramirez jersey, one of my favorites, and one that I'm definitely never gonna wear because I don't want to get it stained. I don't want to get it I don't want to get it dirty. I hopefully want to get it signed and framed one day and have it there on the wall.
Yeah, I would put that in an air-conditioned room with a glass box and a light shining above it that I can only look at out for 1 hour a year. I do like that Mexico tried to do something similar this time around as well. I think they have one of the best shirts in the World Cup. To round things out, we're staying chaotic. We're going years and years ago. Arsenal bruised banana shirt. This is one of the most chaotic football shirts of all time. I think of Ian Wright. I think of, how oversized it's going to be. I think of these big, long sleeves. I think of the start of the Premier League era. Absolutely beautiful shirt. Arsenal, I know they tried to, bring it back a few years ago. Didn't do it justice. They need to go all out next time they bring it back. This absolutely iconic. It's really what set the trend for these crazy football shirts.
Yeah, and I knew you were gonna mention it, and I knew you were gonna say it. That's why I didn't want to have it on my list. But finishing it off, I have to go with, and I feel comfortable with this. I was gonna choose a Manchester United jersey. Instead, I'm gonna go for an England kit. I have to go for England's 1999 away shirt, specifically David Beckham one. I just think that the history it has. I love me a red jersey. I love me a collar. I think that with the amount of class it has, definitely could be worn by a right winger, just like how David Beckham used it. And once again, just one of my favorite kits of all time, and it definitely has to be on that list.
Is that the one with all the flags on it?
Just red kit.
Oh,
blue
okay,
collar,
okay.
blue
Yeah.
accents.
Okay,
I don't think you can go wrong with class like that.
I was thinking about the one the year before, where from 1998, where it's covered in flags. I think they've got the St. George's Cross on there like 4 times. Actually, I'm counting. It's more than that. It's absolutely beautiful. It's iconic. It's gaudy. That's what football shirts should be.
Yeah, for sure.
But, Joa'o, does that round up our kit selection? This episode went a little long.
I'm glad it did. I'm glad we're getting content for the people. I'm glad we're getting all of this out. I'm glad that we're able to go ahead and provide more variety, stuff that you don't see necessarily every day, because we can talk about every league in the world, but it's gonna get boring. So once again, lists are gonna come out eventually. If you're watching the pod, let us know on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you catch our whether it's videos or our pictures that we post, or graphics, I guess. Let us know who had the better selection. Let us know who had the better 11. I think with the selection that Rees had at center back, he takes the cake just with that. But once again, just great selections. Do you have anything else, Rees, to close it out today?
I think I don't have anything to close it out, which is poor from me. I should. I think, though, again, we're going to continue to do these, not every episode, but, just these are topics that we can post whenever on TikTok, which is nice because I don't have to post it all at once. Unlike some of the topics that we spoke about in this episode, which will be up on TikTok, Instagram later today. But again, I think that rounds out the episode. Joa'o, it was a pleasure, as always, spending some time with you on this podcast, especially when we don't have Zach Dorosic. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Rees Goodall and at ReesFC on TikTok. Joa'o, where can they follow you?
Joa'o Reports on Twitter and VJL Football on TikTok, which I will start posting on soon. I know it's about as blank as a wall behind me without the jersey on the wall. We will get content pumped out soon. You best believe it.
I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it, buddy. But more importantly, instead of following Joa'o and me, make sure to follow the pod on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok at The Inverted Microphone, because we are going to continue to pump out content until the day we die, and not a moment sooner. The last thing I'm going to do on this earth is upload a short about Joa'o talking about Manchester United's failures, and it's going to be elite. But it's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when you talk football kits with the fellas on a Friday. Goodbye.